Well, welcome today. I am with the legendary Al Chester of Florida A&M, who was their quarterback from 1975 to 1978. He was the starter there from 76 to 78, and they ended up winning the national championship that year. And I really just want to thank you for being on, Al.
Hey, well, Jeremy, thank you so much for having me. It's a tremendous opportunity. I'm very excited about talking with you. The older I get, the more I think about all the things we accomplished, and it has more value as an old man than it did as a young guy.
It really gives you that nice retrospect when you really get to think back and all you accomplished.
Oh, no question. I tell you what, when you think about all that we accomplished and how winning the first Division I AA National Championship was significant at the time, it's more significant now because it doesn't look like another HBCU school is going to win that thing. But one thing about it, once you win it, can't nobody take it away from you. And I'm still proud of wearing both my national championship rings from '77, which was the Black National Championship, and then obviously the one in '78, which was the first Division I AA National Championship.
Absolutely, it's something no one can ever take away from you. So I just want to jump right in, and I just want to hear a little bit more about your story and where you're from.
Well, I was born and raised right here in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm the oldest of two kids. Both my mom and father were in the house, and grew up in a Christian home. And I tell you what, I didn't start playing football until junior high school. Played baseball and loved that. And I got an opportunity to play a little football in junior high school, and we took off running with that. I tell you what, it was an exciting time. In junior high school, we had a great football team. We actually won the city championship, went undefeated. That was the first undefeated team I was on. And then went to high school and JV football. Same thing. We won the city championship, went undefeated, and then hit some speed bumps the junior and senior year, and was still fortunate enough though to be recognized as a decent player, and got some opportunities to visit some schools, and decided to go to the highest of 7 hills in Tallahassee, and felt very good about that. Very excited about the opportunity. There were a lot of guys who were already there. Obviously, a lot of guys and family people that I met that had matriculated there at Florida A&M, and was just excited about being a part of the family.
That makes a lot of sense. What other schools were you potentially looking at, and what ultimately made you decide to go with Florida A&M?
Well, I tell you what, I actually took a trip to Tulane in the fall of 1974. Had a great time out there. Tulane Stadium was, the big dome wasn't built at the time. It made me feel like an old man, Jeremy, but they weren't, it wasn't there at the time, but we had a great time. Had a chance to visit University of Iowa back then as well. But I thought about something that my mom had always told me. She said, you can be a big fish in a little pond or a little fish in a big pond. And I didn't want to get too far away from home. And if I was fortunate enough to play, I wanted my family and friends to be able to see me play. And so it didn't take long to make a decision. Florida A&M had a new football coach. He'd only been there for a year. And I wanted to be a part of that program, and everything kind of took care of itself from there.
Makes a lot of sense. Was college something that was part of the family legacy, or was that something? I know everyone's family is a little different.
Well, my family actually didn't go to FAMU, but I had so many other close friends and family members who attended FAMU, and when they heard that I was being recruited, of course, I got a lot of phone calls and a lot of visits, and obviously trying to encourage me to wear the orange and green. And, a lot of great football players out of there. I mean, my favorite football player as a youngster growing up was Bob Hayes. And I wanted to be Bob Hayes when I was a little fella running around in the street. And he actually did his thing, obviously, at FAMU and with the Cowboys and with the Olympics and so forth, and ended up getting a chance to meet him. But FAMU was just the place I needed to be. I mean, I actually asked God to order my steps, and I found myself in Tallahassee. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it the same way.
I love to hear that. So what was it like? I mean, you're playing under a relatively new coach. Was there high expectations, or what were you really looking to get out of your time playing football there?
Well, I tell you what, everybody knew of the legendary Jake Gaither and Rudy Hubbard, who was from Hubbard High School in Hubbard, Ohio, at his tutelage in his time as a player and a coach under Woody Hayes. And so for me personally, what I wanted to do was go up and show that I had the skills and the wherewithal and to be a college quarterback. And so I left Jacksonville. I was a hot shot. I thought I had a pistol arm. And when I got to school in the fall, there was 2-3 other quarterbacks on campus. And so they had already been, actually, the freshman quarterback who graduated early. He had been there for the entire spring. So I was behind the power curve when I got there. And the key was just showing that I had the ability to play and adapting to the scheme and transitioning from high school to college football, which sometimes can be a little difficult. The game, speed of the game, the size of the players, all the obvious stuff. And I was just, I started school when I was 5, so I was still a young guy. I was 17 years old playing with some grown men, and I tell you that was eye-popping for me. But never any fear. I was taken under the wings of several guys, one who happens to be a native of Jacksonville, and he's going into the Black College Hall of Fame, Greg Coleman. He was my roommate.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
they kind of took care of me, and things kind of matriculated, and I got through that freshman year. But it was challenging, but very exciting. And Pop Kittles, who was a quarterback coach, who's a Jacksonville native as well, he actually went to school with my mother. So there was some ties there, but I mean, I felt comfortable. And that's what was key, and feeling comfortable and being able to get out and do what I need to do education-wise, because back then we were on a quarter system. And it was a mandate from my mother and my father that I had to get my lesson, or I wasn't going to be any football. And I heard that same message from the coaches at FAMU. And we went out and demonstrated that we could handle the classroom and end up having a good year.
So the next year, you end up becoming the starter, correct?
In 1976, it was myself and Ricky Pope, who was from Pensacola. He was a sharpshooting quarterback. He was the guy who actually got to school before I did. And the first game, we alternated back and forth, running plays in. And then after that first game, church was out. I think that Coach Hubbard saw that I had the leadership ability, and he gave me the keys to the vehicle, and we took off running. And we were a young ball club, but very talented, not very big. We were a finesse football team. And by that time, we got a year and a half under our belts, and I felt very comfortable with the scheme. Everybody bought into what Coach Hubbard was trying to do, both offensively and defensively. And although we finished 6-3-2 that year, we could have easily been 8-2, but actually 8-3. But we had some challenges, but we grew up as a football team, and it was quite a year. And I tell you what, I ended up being the most valuable player that year as an 18-year-old starting quarterback, and which kind of surprised me. I mean, at the banquet, of course, I'm there, and I was just totally taken aback, but felt good about the things that we had accomplished as a team and what we were building on. I mean, you could see the momentum, you could see it happening, and everybody felt good about the direction we were headed.
Absolutely. So then you said you guys are building, you're getting ready. What about your junior season then?
Now, in 1977, we went undefeated, but I'll be remiss if I talked about 77 without talking about the back end of 1976, because that's when the winning streak started. In 1976, we played our rival, Bethune-Cookman, down in Orlando, and they beat us 30-0 in the rain. The following week, we played Central State of Ohio in the Orange Blossom Classic. We won that game, and we didn't lose another one for 17 straight games. The 11-0 season was in 1977. We had a team. We had only 3 seniors on that football team that were starters. Everybody else were sophomores and juniors. And I tell you what, we didn't think about what we were doing. I think preparation obviously was the key. One thing about it, we studied hard. I studied my opponent Monday through Friday. I was in the film room watching film. And it wasn't a matter if we were going to beat you. It was a matter how bad we were going to beat you. I mean, that's the attitude we took. We weren't cocky, but very confident. That probably came across like we were cocky. But that 11-0 year, man, we didn't even think about what we were doing. We were just going out beating the next opponent every week, and end up being 11-0, and that was such a fantastic year.
Definitely. And so you guys were crowned the Black College Football National Champions, correct?
Yes, we were the only undefeated team in the country in all divisions. And I thought that was very special. A lot of people don't realize that, but I mean, the big schools, I mean, there were no other undefeated teams in the country. FAMU, we were the only undefeated team in the country in 1977. And we were crowned the Black National Champs. And this ring represents that year and all the accomplishments and everything that we were able to do.
So let's transition to now your senior year. You've been in the system for 4 years. You've been a starter for 2, coming up on your 3rd. So what was the mindset of that season?
Well, I tell you what, it was more of the same. You know, it was a matter of again feeling real good about ourselves, being very confident in who we were. Again, as I mentioned previously, we didn't lose but 3 players off that team, off the 77 team, 3 starters. And so we had all these guys coming back. And then we had an influx of freshmen, talented freshmen coming in as well. So we felt comfortable and confident about our team. So it was just continuation of the same thing. Of course, you know, everybody bought into what we were doing. The leadership was there. I think, if anything, the 3 guys we lost provided a super leadership during the 77 season. And if anybody thought about anything that would be short, it would be maybe we would lose some leadership. But we didn't. We actually we picked it up and continued to roll. Now we rolled for the first 5 weeks of that game and ended up losing. The only game we lost was the Tennessee State in Doak Campbell Stadium, and myself and they had a quarterback named Joe Adams who could throw the football like nobody. And we ended up having a nice shootout. He and I both ended up being, I remember being Jet Magazine co-players of the week. Throwing that football around and trying to win, and we had an opportunity to win the game, and we got a couple of questionable calls and ended up losing the game. But hey, we didn't have a pity party. We didn't wallow in the loss. We got up, and the next week took off running again. Now the thing about that year that was significant, we lost that game. We came back, beat the homecoming opponent, and the next several opponents, and then we went to play the first regional television game against Southern out in Baton Rouge. And, you know, we didn't have a good offensive game. We won the game, but we didn't play well. And I take full responsibility for that. But we were able to get out of there and with a win. I mean, sometimes you have those kind of games. The following week, we played Bethune-Cookman down in Tampa. This was the first true classic game, which is now called the Classic. It was hosted in Tampa, and again we had 2 quarters of not real good offensive football. So we played 6 quarters of not good football. We got behind 17-0 to them at halftime, and we probably had 65,000-70,000 people in the stands, man, and it was rocking and rolling. And I tell you what, that was probably one of the greatest games, one of the most historical games in FAMU history. We ended up coming back, beating them 27-17, and went on to play Grambling in the Orange Blossom Classic. Now, we had the best record of the 4 teams, of the 3 teams that were selected before us to go to Division I AA playoff. And the NCAA wanted us to beat Grambling in order to be considered for a bid. Well, anyway, we went down to Miami and played the legendary Eddie Robinson. and we beat them 30-0 in Miami. And I remember Mike Williams, he's the brother of Doug Williams. He was the quarterback. He ended up not having such a great night. He ended up throwing about 4 picks. And I remember Doug was on the sideline because if you look back on his record during the time he played, his rookie year, he broke his jaw. So he was on the sideline wired up, but he was cheering for Grambling. But we came out of there with a victory and got the first bid to play Jackson State.
And what did that mean to you? What did that mean to Florida A&M? This is it's the first really one AA national championship kind of tournament as we kind of picture it today.
Well, you know what, Jeremy? One thing about it, we were the first team to win a national championship on the field. 1, 2. Even back then, during the time we were going through all of this, we didn't think about what we were doing. I mean, when you say what it meant, it was another opponent. We had to win the next game. I mean, that was our attitude. We didn't think about anything. We didn't lose any sleep behind anything. We weren't over the top excited. We were just ready to play the next game. I think it was after everything was over when we realized what we had done. We realized what we had accomplished. I mean, it was just it was a tremendous feat. But during that period, we didn't think about it. It was just who was next. And the way this geographically, the way it was set up, University of Massachusetts, Florida A&M, Jackson State, and Nevada, Las Vegas. Now, geographically, if you're going to have a tournament, what should have happened, Jackson State should have played Nevada the first game, and we should have played Massachusetts. And then just geographically, just the way it was set up. But they didn't do it that way. And so we always say, looking back, that the Jackson State probably was the national championship game because that was a power game. We played in bitter cold in Jackson. And I tell you what, man, it was quite a contest, one of those great contests. We were able to get out of there with the victory and end up playing University of Massachusetts, who had beat Nevada, Las Vegas the previous week. And you're talking about the wind was blowing in Wichita Falls, Texas. They treated us. We had a great time, man. We had some cowboy food, and it being the first time that to participate in the national championship, in the whole culture. I mean, it was just a great time. The city opened up to us, and it was just a great time. But the first time that we had played on turf, I mean, that season anyway, and it was bitter cold, and like I said, the wind was blowing. Our punter punted the ball and it flew back over his head. I mean, that was that kind of wind. We still feel like even today that had we played them under better weather conditions, that we could have thumped them pretty good. But ended up being a great contest. And again, I mean, not really thinking about it. At the time, I thought more about this was my last game as a Rattler. And that had more impact on me than actually accomplishing winning the national championship, because I came to Tallahassee as a boy and left as a man. But if I had to do it all over again, like I mentioned earlier, I'd do it the same way. But it was some of the most inspirational times, both on the field and off the field. I mean, you grow. You when you look back and you think about how when you first got there, and now I'm thinking, it's all over, and not knowing if you're going to get an opportunity to play at the next level, and because it's all about opportunity, and sometimes it just doesn't fall your way. But nevertheless, it was tremendous for the university. It was tremendous for each player, tremendous for our families. I mean, we had a big crowd waiting on us when we got back from the airport, got to the airport, flying back from Wichita that evening, and just a spectacular time. And you know what? Football has an impact on the attitude of the universities. And I don't care where you're playing. I mean, if you win in football, if you win it, and you can imagine now, we go 11-0 the previous year, win the national championship the second year, everything is going right in Tallahassee at Florida A&M. I mean, it's just one of the greatest times of my life.
Definitely. So now, once you finish up, your season's over, what happens next for you?
I didn't hear you, Jeremy. Say it again.
Oh, no worries. I said now your season finishes up, and you guys won the national championship. And so what's next? What's next for you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I had to come home to intern. I interned in the public defender's office. My degree was in sociology, minor at corrections. And just like all the other football players at the time, I mean, coming out, you're hoping that you get an opportunity. I got a couple of calls from some teams. They took me to dinner while I was in Tallahassee. And then obviously the night before the draft, I heard from about 12, 13 teams. At the time, black quarterbacks weren't getting much of an opportunity. Doug had just left the previous year. I was told I was going to have to end up probably being a defensive back or wide receiver. And I thought the Cleveland Browns, I tell you, the Cleveland Browns was a team that actually showed some interest. They had a quarterback there named Brian Sight. The backup quarterback was a guy named David Mays, who played at Texas Southern. And the scout who came to see me said, hey, you guys are about the same size. And so we like what we see, yada, yada, yada. But it never did materialize. So I ended up going to Toronto. I played in Canada and met Forrest Gregg, who was a legendary coach, legendary player and coach in the National Football League with the Packers. He was the head football coach. And the secondary coach was Willie Wood. And both of these guys all passed away within the last 12 months.
Yes.
Great guys, tremendous people. And some of the teammates I had, I mean, I played with Terry Metcalf. I don't know if you date back that far, but Metcalf had a son, Eric Metcalf, who was a tremendous ball player with Cleveland. I got a chance to meet Warren Moon over in Edmonton, Condredge Holloway, and he was in Ottawa at the time. Joe Barnes, who was out of Texas A&M. Tom Clements, who played at Notre Dame. So ended up playing a little quarterback, a little wide receiver, defensive back, and actually the opportunity kind of ran out for me, and the desire to play kind of left me. But you know, when you've been doing something all your life, and then all of a sudden you're not doing it anymore, there's a little something to you. So I ended up coming back to Jacksonville, and I worked in the mayor's office. And there was a couple of semi-pro teams here as well. So I was able to get football out of me by playing in these semi-pro teams, the Jacksonville Firebirds, the Jacksonville Sunbirds. Had a great time, led the league in passing, and won some games. But I knew that football was done for Al Chester. So it was time for me to do something else. And I ended up working in the mayor's office and heard about a federal agency. It was called NIS, the Naval Investigative Service at the time. It was all civilian outfit. And, hey, man, I had applied with the FBI, DEA, and wanted to work in law enforcement, but didn't want to wear the uniform and drive a police car. I just didn't want to do that. But at any rate, they gave me an opportunity, and I worked for NCIS, which is the TV program you see on TV now, for 25 years. Had a chance to go places, see things, and do things that I never would have under normal circumstances. It's a worldwide organization, and I tell you what, had a great time. Met some great people, and end up retiring, and had a great time. And after that, I did about 10 years. I ran a juvenile detention center, and currently substitute teach a little bit, and I'm working at one of the local gyms. Now, I'm an old man now. I got to warm up and put my clothes on.
Oh, that's incredible. I want to backpedal a little bit. Going to the CFL, that was honestly that at that time it was kind of commonplace for a lot of black quarterbacks that weren't given the opportunity in the NFL or AFL at that time. What were your feelings towards that or about that? Obviously.
What was what now?
Sorry, what were your feelings? Did you have feelings about maybe not getting the opportunity that, as you said, it's all about opportunity, and, not everything always goes as I think we planned it in our heads, at least.
Yeah, I was excited about going and was willing and actually ended up playing safety, I played some wide receiver, and I played a little quarterback. So, I mean, I was excited about just playing at the next level. I mean, and just wanting to see what it was like, getting the opportunity to play, the exposure. It was one that was second to none. And I had an opportunity to go because Forrest left Toronto and went to Cincinnati, and but he had three big quarterbacks down there, and I wanted to really try to play quarterback. And I thought I saw an opening and an opportunity for me to play that second year at quarterback, and a lot of things happened, and it didn't lay out right. And sometimes you can't make it happen. It has to it has to come to you, and it just didn't come right. And you couple that with kind of losing the desire to play. I kind of lost some of the desire to play, and this didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right, and it was just time to do something else. And that's when I decided, I come home, and then the semi-pro team here, it gave me an opportunity to just kind of get it out of my system, almost like wringing a rag. Let me get it all out of my system, and I'm done with that.
Yeah. My next question for you is, what was it like playing under Coach Hubbard? He's was inducted, or he'll be inducted this year as the class of 2021 to the College Football Hall of Fame, which is very exciting.
Well, I ran over that piece back when we were talking about the time with the rallies, and I didn't run over it intentionally, but Coach Hubbard, he was 29, 30 years old when I got to Tallahassee, so he was still a young man himself. His first head coaching job. He was a disciplinarian, but at the same time, easy to talk to, and he believed in a system, and it was like he didn't play or work under Jake Gaither, but he played and worked under Woody Hayes, and both those legendary coaches, similar in style and the way they approached the game. And but Rudy had his own way. I mean, he had his own way, and it took a while, from the first year he got there in '74. I wasn't there. The guys, you got a new guy, and he comes in and he's trying to do, used to going right, he wants you to go left. Sometimes that change is difficult for people to handle. And but by the time I got there was buy-in, and of course I'm a young 17-year-old kid. I'm gonna buy in because I want to play. And I'm gonna help do whatever it needs to, whatever I need to do to try to make this thing work. And but class guy, first class, I tease people all the time. You have these loud coaches who curse, and I never heard Coach Hubbard say a curse word, man. And but he believed in his systems, both offensive and defense and special teams, and the guys believed it. I mean, it was just, when you look at taking a football team, you got guys from different walks of life. They're motivated different, and you get them together for a common goal. I mean, that's a challenge. I mean, I have the utmost respect for coaches because it's challenging when you got a bunch of young men and you're trying to get them to do one thing. And he was just good at that. I mean, he had a great staff. He had an elite staff. Guys who were talented, who believed in what he was doing, and who were personable enough that they could reach the players and deliver the message. And it was just a unique time, man. I tell you what, it was a great, when you play on a championship team, it's about as unique as the layperson would see it as, they're just a bunch of guys and they got good talent, this and that, but it wasn't quite like that. It's some magic going on. I call it magical boo-boo going on with a championship football team, man. You don't, and then it parlays itself. You carry that stuff into life with you. Because, I mean, we still communicate. All of us, we've got a great relationship beyond, and obviously that was over 40 years ago. So, I mean, we still have a unique relationship.
Absolutely. My next question for you is, what did it mean to go to an HBCU, instead of one of the other schools just going to a historically Black college and university.
Well, I tell you what, Jeremy, there's nothing like an HBCU experience. The culture there, being able to rub shoulders with the educators, your peers and contemporaries who look like you, who understand you, who've gone through some of the same things you've gone through. It's a kinship and a family atmosphere that's second to none. And like I said, I've said it twice already. If I had to do it all over again, even now, knowing what I know, there's no way I wouldn't do it. I do the same thing. And I would encourage any student, Black or white, to attend a HBCU. It's the homecoming, the spirit, the whole family atmosphere is just, it's second to none.
Excellent. My last question for you is really, what would you like to say to the next generation of, football players, student athletes, everyone?
Well, you know what? Life is full of challenges, and it's not how you start, but it's how you finish. And to work hard, I would encourage them to work hard, keep God in your life. You can't do anything without the master. And I pray all the time, always have, grew up in a spiritual home, and asking God to order your steps and to work hard at everything that you do. And, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But you do your part, and I promise you, winning helps. But you can be a winner in life. And being a winner in life doesn't mean having the biggest house, the biggest car, making the most money. It's being a productive citizen. And I tell you what, I really appreciate and thank publicly right now all the men and women who touched my life during these last 63 years. God's willing, I'll be 63 years old on the 19th of February. And I'm appreciative to everybody. You talk about the HBCU school and going there. You talk about a village raising a child, because the teachers, the administrators, the coaches, everybody cares about you. And I'm really very appreciative for everyone who's put their hands on me, touched my life, and made me the person that I am. One of the things I didn't mention either was that I met my bride at Florida A&M. She was Miss FAMU. She was Miss Junior my senior year, and we started dating. And then, years later, we have a son, and our son attended Florida A&M. He played quarterback at Florida A&M. He also pledged Kappa, and he's a pharmacist. He was a pharmacy student. And him and his wife have given us 2 grandkids, man. They're the love of my life. I mean, that's what I'm motivated to do, is make sure that they turn out to be great young men.
Well, I wanted to thank you so much, Al, for taking time out of your day to talk with us here at the College Football Hall of Fame.
But Jeremy, I tell you what, man, I really appreciate you. I'm appreciative for being selected as one of the guys to be featured. All the great athletes around this country. And for me to be featured during Black History Month is a tremendous honor. I appreciate that. And you guys stay safe. This virus is still undefeated.
You as well. Thank you again.
All right, buddy.